The first thing Margaret Thompson noticed was the silence. It wasn't peaceful. It wasn't gentle. It was wrong, hollow in a way that made her chest tighten. Before her mind had even caught up, the hospital room was bathed in a pale, early morning glow, the kind that blurred the edges of everything. Machines hummed softly. Somewhere down the hall, a baby cried. Not hers. Margaret turned her head slowly, instinctively, the way a mother does even in sleep. Her hand drifted toward the crib beside the bed, fingers brushing air where warmth should have been. She froze. Her breath hitched as she pushed herself upright, pain tearing through her body as reality rushed in all at once. The crib stood there, clean and orderly. The blue blanket she had stitched herself lay folded neatly at the foot. Empty. "No," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "No, no, no." She scanned the room wild-eyed, as if Emily might suddenly appear, as if this was some terrible mistake that would correct itself if she just looked hard enough. "John," she said louder now. "John." John Thompson stirred in the chair near the window, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "What is it?" Margaret pointed, her hand shaking violently. The crib. John stood, confusion flashing across his face before it collapsed into horror. He crossed the room in 2 steps, staring down at the empty space where his daughter had been less than an hour ago. "Where is she?" he demanded, already backing toward the door. Margaret's voice cracked. She was right there. "I went to make a phone call. I was gone for 5 minutes." John yanked the door open and shouted down the hallway. "My baby is gone." A nurse appeared, then another. Someone ran. Someone else called for security. The calm rhythm of maternity wing shattered instantly, replaced by raised voices, hurried footsteps, and alarms Margaret barely registered as she curled inward on the bed, clutching the sheet. "They took her," she kept repeating. "Someone took my baby." Emily Thompson had been born just hours earlier, just after dawn on July 12, 1988, in Cedarville Memorial Hospital, a modest brick building serving a quiet Ohio town where everyone knew everyone else. She weighed 7 pounds, cried loudly, and latched immediately. The nurses called her strong. For Margaret and John, Emily wasn't just a child. She was the end of a long road marked by loss they rarely spoke about. 3 miscarriages. Years of disappointment, doctors offering sympathetic looks and vague reassurances. They had stopped telling people when Margaret was pregnant. This time, they waited until Emily was placed in Margaret's arms, alive, breathing, real, and then she was gone. Security locked down the hospital within minutes. Every exit was sealed. Staff were instructed not to leave. Parking lots were searched. Trash bins overturned. Supply closets opened. Nothing. Investigators arrived before sunrise. Cedarville police, then county detectives, then state authorities as the gravity of the situation became clear. "This is an abduction," one detective said quietly. "Not a mix-up." Margaret overheard the word and screamed. The hospital security footage was reviewed immediately, but it was outdated, grainy black and white images recorded over older tapes. Several hallways had no cameras at all. The maternity wing had blind spots near the staff exit and service elevator. One nurse remembered seeing a man standing near the nursery late that night. "He looked like a father," she said, holding a clipboard, calm, like he belonged there. "Did he have a badge?" an investigator asked. "I assumed he did." Another nurse recalled a woman pushing a bassinet down a hallway shortly after midnight. "Did you see a baby?" they pressed. "I didn't look," she admitted. I thought it was routine." Every staff member working that night was questioned. One name surfaced quickly: Richard Hale. Hale was a night security guard who had worked at Cedarville Memorial for 9 years. He was in his late 30s, divorced, lived alone. He knew the building better than almost anyone. "Where were you between 1:10 and 1:25 a.m.? Detective Samuel Rourke asked. Hale leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "Smoking break. Out back." "Anyone see you?" "No." He avoided eye contact. His voice was steady, but his leg bounced uncontrollably. A polygraph was administered days later. Hale failed. You think that machine means something? He snapped. I didn't take that baby. No physical evidence tied him to Emily's disappearance. No witnesses placed him directly at the crib. He was suspended, then quietly dismissed months later, but never charged. Hospital Administrator Gerald Price became another focus. Records showed staffing changes that night. Nurses reassigned mid-shift, doors left unlocked, log entries corrected retroactively. Why were these changes made? Investigators asked. Price wiped his brow. We were understaffed. Things happen. After the baby went missing? I don't remember the exact timing. The hospital's internal review uncovered missing documentation, key cards unaccounted for, nursery sign-in sheets altered. Still, nothing definitive. By the end of the first week, the media descended on Cedarville. News vans lined the streets. Reporters camped outside the Thompson home. Emily's hospital photo, pink-faced, eyes closed, was plastered everywhere. Margaret gave interviews through tears. She needs us, she said. Please, if you have her, just bring her back. Tips flooded in. A woman in Kentucky claimed she saw a newborn passed into a white sedan at a gas station. A truck driver said he picked up a hitchhiker carrying a baby wrapped in blue. A psychic mailed hand-drawn maps of a lake and a farmhouse. Investigators chased every lead. None held. Months passed, then years. Margaret stopped going to work. She slept with a porch light on every night. She might come home, she said. She has to know where to go. John became methodical. He bought filing cabinets, labeled folders, recorded interviews himself. They missed something, he told detectives repeatedly. Someone inside helped. Suspicion eventually fell on a nurse named Linda Carver. Linda had miscarried weeks before Emily's birth. Hospital records confirmed she was working the night shift. She was grieving, a co-worker said. She barely spoke. Investigators questioned her for hours. Did you take Emily? They asked directly. Linda stared at the table. I wanted a baby, but I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't steal someone's child. Her alibi held. Other staff placed her elsewhere during the critical window. In 1992, a letter arrived at the Thompsons' home. No return address. She's alive. You won't find her. Margaret collapsed when she read it. Police traced the envelope to a post office 2 counties away. No fingerprints. No DNA. Hope became agony. In 1996, a retired maintenance worker came forward. I saw a woman leave through the staff exit with a baby, he said. She knew which doors to use. Why didn't you report it then? Detectives asked. I thought she belonged, he whispered. By the late 1990s, the case slowed. Margaret aged rapidly. Her hair grayed. Her smile disappeared. I can't imagine her face anymore, she confessed once. I don't know who she's becoming. John never stopped believing Emily was alive. She was taken, he said, not lost. Hospitals nationwide updated security procedures, locked nurseries, ID bracelets, surveillance upgrades. Emily's disappearance became a cautionary tale. Still, no answers. Then technology changed everything. In 2017, Margaret submitted her DNA to a genealogy database. I don't expect miracles, she said. I just need peace. Weeks later, a genealogist called. We've identified a close match, she said carefully. A woman in her late 20s, living 200 miles away. Emily Thompson was alive. She was living under the name Rachel Moore. She had grown up believing she was abandoned. Her birth certificate listed no parents. When investigators approached her, she laughed. My whole life I was told I was unwanted, she said. Now you're telling me I was stolen? DNA confirmed it. The reunion was quiet. Margaret stood frozen, afraid to scare her away. You look like me, Emily said softly. Margaret nodded, tears streaming. I've looked for you every day. Emily felt anger more than joy. Why didn't you find me sooner? She asked. John swallowed hard. We never stopped. The investigation reopened. Old suspects were re-interviewed. Richard Hale was dead. Gerald Price denied wrongdoing. Linda Carver refused further interviews. a retired nurse, finally broke down. There was pressure, she said. Things we weren't supposed to question. But did you know? Investigators asked. She shook her head. I didn't want to know. No charges were filed. Emily struggled to reconcile her identity. My life feels borrowed, she said, like I was raised inside a lie. Margaret apologized constantly. You don't owe me anything, Emily finally said. I just need the truth. The truth never fully came. Someone had walked out of a hospital with a newborn and vanished. Someone had rewritten a life. Emily chose to keep her name. I'm both, she said, and neither. The case remains officially unsolved. But one thing is certain. Emily Thompson didn't disappear. She was taken. And for 30 years, the silence protected someone who was never held accountable.